Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of Future Forward Integrations and Workflows, the last day of the July Future Forward series. So excited to have you here. I'm your host, Amy Keenan of Insightful Accountant. Thank you for joining us on this Friday, whether it's morning or afternoon for you. It's afternoon for me. I'm in the East Coast, but I know Dawn's on the West Coast, so it's
Yes, I
morning for
am.
her. But we are excited to have you here. We're just going to give it a couple seconds as people are still joining us as I go through all of the housekeeping. So this is being recorded, and yes, we will be sending the recording out. If you need CPE, please tell us in this poll so that way we can send you the CPE certificate. So making sure you say yes to the poll, and as well make sure you do all our polling questions to qualify for CPE. So thank you as everyone starts filling that out. If you have any questions, feel free to put those in the Q&A pane of Zoom, and we will get to those questions at the end if Dawn has left some time available for us to do that. So please feel free to put those questions in there because we always like questions. And in the chat, if you want to just chat with us and share where you're from, where you're tuning in from, would love to hear where everybody's coming from. The last few days, we've been all over the country, all over the world for some. So it's been pretty exciting to see where you all are tuning in from. So thank you for that. And then, as you can see, our topic for today is, the poll is in my way. Hold on. Oh, gosh. Time for what matters, integration and workflow optimization for advisors. So I'm so excited to have Dawn Hatch here, chat with you today, give you some insights, give you her knowledge, share her knowledge with you. We are so excited to also have Xero be our sponsor for today's Future Forward as well. Always like to have our sponsors here. And as you know, next Thursday is our App Academy, where all of our sponsors from this week will do a 20-minute session on their actual solution and how they help and their partner program. So make sure you come and join us next Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern to see the 4 different sponsors that we had this week, which are Quadient, QVinci, Guideline, and Xero. And before we kick off our wonderful topic for today, we would love to share our Be Insightful membership with you. It is such a great way to keep up with your CPE, to hear from the experts, to learn about all these different things. We have 9 different tracks, 9 different trainers talking and bringing their expertise to you, from marketing to tax to app comparisons. And of course, if you do become a member, you can actually be entered in to win a cruise. I don't know who wouldn't want to take a cruise next July, but yes, you'll be entered in for a chance to win a 7-night cruise. But not only that, we are actually taking Being Insightful on the cruise as a seed day symposium. So we will have some workshops, we will have some fun excursions, we will have sponsors. It's be another great way to connect and another great way to escape from the office, but also get some knowledge in too. So you will be entered in to win a cruise, the chance to win that cruise if you do become a member. So we will be sending out information on that moment in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for more information on Be Insightful. All right, and that's it for me. You are done. We're done hearing from me. We're going to hand the reins over to what really matters today. So thank you so much, Dawn, for joining us and teaching us, and we're happy to have you.
Of course. I'm so happy to be here. I'm going to share my desktop. So my name is Dawn Hatch, like Amy said, and I have a company in San Francisco called MATAX. And I started out working with startups and small businesses over 30 years ago, actually. And my goal after working within accounting and HR departments within startup companies themselves, I really wanted to empower business owners and make sure that they were maximizing their cash while minimizing, the time on manual tasks. And as a company, it was really important that we were sort of leveraging technology as much as possible because I love to travel and not work. I hope that's the case with most people as well. So we went paperless in 2010 and then really leaned in, became remote in 2014, completely remote company. And that meant streamlining was super, super important. We've been leveraging automation heavily for the past 7 or 8 years and AI for about 3. And we within our team members, we saw this amazing transformation where they were actually able to use their expertise and spend their time advising clients rather than gathering the information. And that really unlocked a huge amount of potential and growth within our company. So we've been able to scale even after almost 20 years without increasing our staff. So our focus today is going to be about practical implementation, though, just the basics, like no complicated tech talk, just real actionable insights and strategies that you can implement immediately to get your workflows flowing, I guess, and set the stage for that advisory growth. Because the businesses that are growing successfully now, they're not the ones that are doing manual work. They're the ones that have eliminated that, and that they have freed up the time so that they can focus on talking to their clients and making the strategic decisions. And that's what we'll be talking about today. But first, I did want to start by thanking Xero for sponsoring this. Xero, for those who may not know, it's a cloud-based platform, and it's more than an accounting platform. It has a range of connected apps and tools that help customers automate the manual and get powerful insights that improve the collaborations. And it's all in one place. So essentially, you can think of it as a hub. And the result is it gives greater confidence, not just in the numbers, but the overall health of a company, and it gives more time back for business owners and advisors like us to focus on doing what they love. So the Xero's accounting has the compliance tools that support the data ingestion, the bookkeeping, annual tax management, filing, reporting, insights. It also supports the day-to-day operations beyond accounting, such as employee management, expenses, projects, and inventory. So I do encourage everybody to tune into that app demo that they're going to be doing next week and learn about the partner program. It has just catapulted our company over the past several years, and the support that the advisor community that we have amongst each other is tremendous. I see some of my colleagues here on this call today, and hopefully they can attest to the same later on. But let's get into it. The first sort of question I have for everybody is, how many people woke up this morning and said, I cannot wait to manually enter that same amount of information over and over again in several platforms? Hopefully not very many. But here we are, vast amounts of experience. And, we could be spending our time transforming businesses, but we're mired sort of in the day-to-day of the manual efforts. So maximizing integrations and automations is incredibly important. And let's talk a little bit about the why of it. As an example, a few years ago, one of our lead accountants was spending the time she should have been spending with clients. She always said she didn't have time to do anything. And we work on fixed fee value-based pricing, so we weren't tracking our time granularly, but we did a little bit of a test case and tracked where her time was going. And we discovered it was shocking to me that she was spending 3 hours a day just moving information between systems and trying to connect with other team members and follow up with clients on various information. And she should have, she has this great strategic mind, so she should have been analyzing. And 3 hours, if we just sit and think about that for a second, 3 hours a day, that is almost 700 hours of a year that was just wasted. And that was something that, if we multiplied that by all of our employees, that's 2-3 people that we really didn't need, or 2-3 people worth of hours that could be spent developing new programs for our own company, helping clients grow and expand our offerings. And we found that to be we just had to stop and change our processes immediately because of that. And that is the direct cost savings. We're talking about real money. When you eliminate the redundant data entry, you're not just saving time and reducing errors, you're generating faster turnaround times, you're freeing up the most expensive resource, which is your expertise. And you want your senior people to focus on analysis and not data entry. Now, the revenue opportunities, that's what is really interesting. Right? When you are not constantly moving information or putting out fires, you can spend that time analyzing data and spotting trends quicker. You have time to spend with the information with clients rather than just completing tasks by a deadline. And you can have conversations like, here are the strategies to optimize A, B, or C, rather than just here are your monthly reports. Right. Our company, we don't do tax. We focus on the accounting and the integrations and workflow optimization. But each of our clients has a package that they get at the end of each month. And it used to be just, here are the finished reconciliations, the reports for the month. And now we're able actually to sit down and do forward planning. And that has increased our revenue dramatically with even a smaller client set because our people are focused on those strategies. So that's not bookkeeping that we're talking about being able to do now. Once we eliminate those manual tasks, we're talking about business advisory. That's the real value, and that's where the revenue potential is, as well as client retention. And that's really important now more than ever. The third recommendation, or the thing that we've found, is the quality of life improvement. Once we eliminated all of the manual entries and we were able to integrate and automate as much as possible, it didn't just affect our internal staff quality of life, but our clients as well, because now we're implementing some of these strategies within our client base. Instead of being just buried under administrative tasks, there's less stress, more interesting and challenging work. I highly doubt there's anybody here on this call that went into the business that you're in because you wanted to do that admin work. And it's the same with our clients. So there's a better work-life balance for the team. I have a challenge for everybody for next week. Before we jump into the solutions, I think it's important to understand what's actually slowing us down. So I encourage everybody to try next week to just track the time that you're spending and your team is spending in these 3 areas. The first is what I call time wasters, and that's the redundant data entry and switching in between systems, and then the info hunting, the following up with clients. The second area is the necessary admin. There's always compliance, there's always the filing of various documentation, and then the basic bookkeeping. The third is the value added work. This is the advisory piece. This is where we want all of our time to be spent, the analysis, the client consultations, and strategic planning, not just for our clients, but for our company, our internal company as well. Most firms that we've worked with, and also our clients, we've found that between 40 and 60% of their time is spent in that first section, that time wasting section. So if you just think about what you would do with all of that extra time, that's where you can become that advisor. And that's what we're pushing for in all of these things. Okay, first polling question, Amy, please.
What is the biggest time drain in your current workflow? Would you like me to share the results, Dawn, when everybody's done?
Oh yeah, I love the results.
All right.
That helps me in my discussions as well.
Well, so far, it looks like client communication and follow-ups is number 1.
Yeah, that's
Give it
always
a
the
couple
tough
more
one.
seconds
Okay.
just in case. Remember, CPE, got to take the polls. So I just want to make sure you all get your poll questions, answer your poll questions to get CPE. All right, here you go.
Manual data, yeah. I mean, that's pretty typical. And this is what we were finding internally as well. Let me grab the screen share back. Okay. Having technical difficulties now. There we go. Okay. So client communication, 100% right there with you. And even though we've implemented a ton of automations and reminders and things, it's still something that we work on continuously. Now we're much more proactive about it, and it's helped. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So we know the time thieves, right? Those tasks that should take us 10 minutes, but somehow they eat up the entire morning or the entire afternoon. And they're not just frustrating, they are so expensive, as we talked about in the earlier slide about where most of the time is going. So manual data entry between platforms, client data, it comes in either via email or in your CRM. If you have a proposal software, then you have to put it again in your accounting software. Somehow it needs to be in another reporting dashboard or some other list. Reconciling transactions that don't match within the accounting system, that can take up a lot of time as well if there aren't, good rules and the system hasn't been learning as it should now with all the machine learning mismatched transactions. For us, creating reports in multiple formats, clients, if you have a client, like we have nonprofit clients and e-commerce clients and a whole different variety of types of startup clients, and they each need a different version for either their board, their internal reporting, management department. So we were finding that we were having to take one report, put it in PDF, put some graphs, some charts. Some people like just the Excel version, Google version, mailing it out to several different people in various security parameters. And each of these takes up a lot of time, and that's what's really stealing the time. Checking the same report, following up with missing client information, as we're talking about, constant reminders. They give you partial information and not full information, and you can't really move on to the next step of what you need to do until you have full information. So you're constantly feeling like a nag. Sometimes people call me Mama Dawn, sometimes I'm the hatchet, depending on, what level of authority or urgency I have to convey. Okay. So here's the framework that we've used within our firm, within MATAX, and that we are also using with some of our colleagues and with our clients as well. And it's not about implementing everything at once. It's about making smart, measured progress. And we'll dig into each one of these 5 steps on the following slides. But really, it's about reaching beyond the basic connections. Most people think integration means, connecting Xero to my bank or connecting QuickBooks to my bank. But that's kind of like saying cooking is, I'm just going to put my food into the microwave. There's so much that gets missed, and there's so much more that we can do. So if you want to use a rule, the 80-20% rule, focus on the 20% of integrations that are going to eliminate 80% of the manual work. So step 1, think about your information of water flowing through pipes. So what we want to do is we sort of want to audit the current workflows. Start with the low level, what I call the UG tasks, the one nobody wants to do. Audit those. And if we're using the water through pipes analogy, where does the information start? where does it need to end up, and what obstacles slow it down along the way. Think about each step, no matter how small. What we found very helpful was internally, we started recording all of our meetings we already had for clients, and then we could use the transcript instead of taking notes. We just use the transcript. And then with AI models now, you use the team version, so the models aren't being trained on your information. You can have it create various task lists or give you the high points, the to-dos from a transcript. But we started doing that as we walked through our internal processes. So not only did we have the transcript, we also had the video version. And from there, we were able to use and leverage AI models, whatever your choice is, as long as it is secure, to create our SOPs, to have it give us the step by step of what was happening and where the information was flowing. So that was a huge time saver in itself, just by taking something that we had previously been mapping out and writing, just have that taken care of and automated for us. They will also create maps for you, diagrams, and I'll give an example shortly. So every time the information has to be manually moved or re-entered, you want to capture that. That's an opportunity for an integration or an automation that's going to improve your workflow. And definitely leverage the AI tools. Contextual prompts are key. So rather with let me take a step back. When we're thinking about using an integration to solve a problem for a client, whether it's an e-commerce client, professional development client, we always do a little bit of research, and the AI tools now have been real time savers, because we can use a contextual prompt that, instead of saying something vague like, how do I integrate these systems, say Xero to A2X, we want to give it specific details. What systems and services are you trying to connect? What is the current tech stack and constraints? You can give it some specific use cases or goals and any limitations, and let that first part of the research be done for you without having to spend hours and hours on your own. So here's where the modern tools, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, whatever your preference is. A more specific example of a prompt that I think would be helpful is if you say something like, you're an accountant and an integrations expert, right? So you're giving it the role you want it to take on. And then, I'm an accountant working with small e-commerce businesses that sell on Amazon, Shopify, eBay. They're using Xero as their accounting. And I'm looking for integrations that are going to automate the sales data, import inventory insights, give me more robust tracking or more robust reporting. What are the top solutions? And what specific benefits should I expect? And then, see what it comes back with. And then you're going to want to validate those findings, your own research or anything that you've discovered via AI tools, and go to the marketplace reviews. Xero app marketplace is amazing. I believe QuickBooks has one as well. The Xero app store is, we use that extensively because they do have AI powered recommendations within the App Store. And we're able to see what the reviews of folks like our firm that have been using it uh, have put out there. We can very quickly use the links that are in there to integrate it within Xero within a few steps. So if we want to test it out immediately, we can do that. So I also would recommend going back to Insightful Accountant and seeing the detailed analysis and reviews that are available there. So the resources are definitely out there for us, and as a community, as long as we continue to put the reviews of our experiences of these apps to help our fellow accountants, bookkeepers, firm owners. I think that's really key to building and strengthening the community as a whole. So Xero, since our firm is 100% Xero, that's our go-to. They have over 1,100 connected apps for the accounting software, and they're adding more every single month. So whatever your accounting platform is, highly recommend that you find their app store and go and see what the recommendations are. Okay. For the second step, evaluating and planning is key. You want to assess the integration complexity, whichever integration you are looking to use. You want to know the cost, the compatibility, not just with your accounting software, but all the other integrations or applications that your client is using or that you're using, so that you can really map things out to how the new workflow is going to go. And you can, show your client how things are going to be improved. Also recommend that you create an implementation timeline. We always want everything to be immediate, especially in this day and age. But if you take things a little bit more slowly, more thought out, you'll go much farther. And ultimately, the time that you spend is going to be a lot less, rather than rushing in and having to course correct more often. So so you're going to use the flow that you identified in step 1, and then take into account all of the research to map the improved flow. Step 3 for us, this is probably the most important, is we always demo and test before unleashing it on everyone. And what we've found incredibly helpful is either using the demo account within the accounting software, or even creating a whole new account. Like within Xero, we have a whole instance where we just call it our sandbox instance, and we can hook up any integration, put in some nice data that is representative of what we need it to do, and really test it from all angles and all sides, and make sure that it is robust, it's doing what we need. We can also test out automations, with Zapier and things like that within it. So we want to test the functionality very safely, quite safely, and then we can simulate that real client experience in the scenarios. We also document any kind of limitation or any additional customization that needs to happen. So if we have to do additional research, we can do that and solve all those problems before we implement something for a client and have them come back and, that's just not working. So step 4, we choose a client who's willing, open, and wants to be our test case. And we also internally, we choose one specific thing that we want to do. For us, as an example, I mentioned before we were running lots of reports and different views. We were at a point where we counted that we were running 47 different reports across a couple dozen clients. And each report was taking between 30 and 45 minutes each month to create. And what we did was we automated the report generation, right? So once a file is complete, the reports are ready and available in Xero. And we used Geocon to recreate the templates that we had in Xero, and then just schedule the reports to be run at a specific day each month. And all of the reports were then, fed into G Sheets, and from there they could flow forward into the various formats. So once you create templates for each of your reports, that should be the last time that you have to do that. You can then set various timings. You can also have them email delivered, and Geocon is just one solution. Sift is another reporting solution that's quite robust, and that will give you the graphs and the charts as well as formal decks. So it's just what works best for your company, and that research that we did in step one. You want to expand it beyond just the immediate solutions. You also want your internal solutions uh, in terms of presenting the whole advisory package to a client. Part of step four also is the monitoring of the performance, especially in the initial stages. You want to get feedback from your client. You want to get feedback from the team members that are initiating and having to support these various integrations. See how it's improving their day, or if it's not, are there additional steps that need to be automated, or additional integrations to solve their roadblocks. And then you just refine. If you just concentrate on one integration and one internal process and refine before you do the wider rollout, that's going to be hugely beneficial, not just because you're really being really studied or taking things step by step, but you're learning, you're honing in on your methodology so that it's going to make it replicable and easier and more quickly. You can roll it out more quickly moving forward. Step 5. So you do want to track the quantifiable improvements. It's always good to have those ROI stats, not only internally, but for clients as well. You want to make sure that there is time savings. What is that time savings? The accuracy, if there's cost savings as well, internal time for staff. A lot of these, once you automate things, you can probably eliminate some of the tech stack. You don't want to have a tech stack that has redundant capabilities. So this should be able to streamline there as well. And then the gathering client feedback again for additional optimization opportunities. Once clients see how some improvements to workflow and the integrations really solve their struggles, they're really keen to go forth and to have you implement more, or they're more receptive for you to trying to change processes that they've been doing for years and years. Amy, I think we're ready for the next polling question.
What's your biggest constraint when considering new workflow improvements?
I love the results of this one too.
Well, so far, time to research and implement is number one. I'm sure you're not surprised by that.
I am
Everybody
not.
wishes they had more time in their day. I know
Of
I do.
course, of course.
Give it a couple more seconds in case anybody needs CPE. Make sure you take your polls. All right, here you go.
Okay. 58%. Okay. Totally there with you. Okay, let's get this going again. All right, so let's get some practical integration examples then, so that we can talk more about freeing up a little bit of time so that you can do a little bit more research. That stat that I gave earlier about what we found internally, where somebody, we were able to eliminate 3 hours per day of their time by implementing some small automations that really added up. And now we are able to spend more time researching. So I'd really love to try to crack that code for everybody here. And then during the Q&A, let's dig into it and get some examples as well. Here's a practical integration example of e-commerce. So we had several clients that they were having to manually enter the sales information from Shopify into their accounting platform. And there is a direct integration now, Shopify to Xero, but they wanted more granular information. And there is a wonderful tool, I hope everybody knows about it, called A2X, which takes all of the information from Shopify, Amazon, eBay, Etsy, Walmart, a whole bunch of different channels, and it can get all of the reports from Shopify and all of these other platforms into one single feed. They clean up the data and they parse it out, so you have all the types, the sales, the tax, the shipping costs, all of that, and it flows into the accounting system. And it reduced 85% of the time spent getting the information from one system to the other, and 95% of the errors, which is key. And if we look at it, we drew out the workflow. I understand that you're not going to be able to see how tiny this is, but this is just to show the difference between the steps. Mapping out your workflow on the left, this was the manual workflow to get information, the granular information from Shopify into Xero. When we implemented A2X, the workflow dramatically truncated, but even better is there's no manual entry anymore. So everything that's here on the right, sorry, on the left, totally gone away. Hook up the integration, and then everything is there in exactly how we need it to be, fully reconciled. It calls out errors and how to fix them without any manual interference or the need for that as well. So for us, that's more than worth the cost of that subscription. Whether you take it something like that on yourself or you pass it along to clients, the day and a half of an employee time that saves, we find is more than worth it. From a firm owner's standpoint, it's really the internal side of things that I get excited about and I really want to solve for everybody. And so some practical internal examples that we have employed and saved time across every single person in the firm were things, that client communication piece, that first polling question. By implementing some simple inbox rules and task creation, by using Zapier, Make, or N8N, whatever your preference is, we're able to have less email clutter. It gets triaged. There are automatic follow-ups, as well as I mentioned before, recording your calls either via Zoom. We have Fireflies. I know other folks like Otter, things like that have the AI transcription, and they can email out summaries. Highly recommend that. We've taken that and also been able to put in an automation that will take the to-dos of a transcript and then push those through to our practice management solution. I think there are solutions out there, Carbon and stuff, that might do that already as well. So leveraging technology is what we're talking about, right? Generating tasks and SOPs for meeting transcripts, like I mentioned before, that is a huge time saver. I highly recommend nobody ever, try to manually type notes in a client conversation ever again. You want to be there for your client. You want to be able to talk to them, look them in the eye, and be able to also remember and follow up. So leveraging these tools, you can set your parameters to give you summaries as well as follow-ups, and that is like having an admin sitting with you within a meeting. Scheduling reports, simple tools, like Geocon, Sift, things like that, where you know that the reports are forwarded to the lead or whomever needs to be there to analyze those reports. That's something that we've done as well with Zapier, and then we have things forwarded into certain folders. You want to eliminate manual follow-ups as well. So recurring reminders for clients, scheduled email messaging for clients. We have, for our recurring clients, scheduled messages go out, and then there's a form that we've built, Google Forms you can use so that they know that they can just fill in all the information, and it continues to remind them until they've completed everything. And only when that has been completed does that push through and trigger for the people that are on that account to be able to dive in. That saved tons of time on that client communication piece. We also schedule recurring meetings with our clients so that they know that whether they use it or not, we're going to show up for them and be there to talk about their stuff and their account once a month. So we've been able to take the time that we were spending on the follow-ups for clients, what sometimes can be, an hour or more per month, and then just now being able to set that dedicated time aside to talk to them. Um, cross-platform notification syncing. Now, this is something that does require like a Zapier or a Make simple automation. Zapier is great because they have their AI tuned in now, where you can just type in what you need and they'll build it out for you. And then you just have to add in your app credentials. So I do recommend that one as well, because you can have that set up. So when something happens in one application, you can set it so that it can notify email, Slack, your practice management software. It can even, push things into your accounting software. Wherever information needs to flow, you can set up one trigger to have it push out to everything. And then that you definitely have time to research more apps and things like that. As well, it keeps everybody in the loop. You're not playing that proverbial telephone or trying to pass information internally. There's one central, the information comes in from one source, and then it can be uh, triaged or sent out to as many as you wish. And what it really does, it allows us to go from firefighting to that strategic advisory. My one hope and my goal in working with colleagues and our clients is to go from being reactive to being proactive and then advisory. The beautiful thing about cloud accounting and these technology platforms that are out there is that real-time flow of information. We should never have to look in the rearview mirror again. We should be able just to have the information for us, so that we can use our experience and our expertise to analyze and have deeper discussions with our clients. And that's why I got into the business, is to really be able to empower business owners and help them fulfill their dreams, not to constantly tap them on the shoulder like, where's this? Where's the information? So something really amazing happens as well when that lift of those tasks, those stressful tasks that just sap all of our energy, when those are released, there's a new energy. There's more excitement about, okay, all the information is here as it should be. I have the time to sit and to think strategically about a client. And I can also have time now to be more proactive. Now that I know these workflows, by putting this methodology in place on how to get there, now that I know that they're working, how can I look even further ahead? How can I be proactive and show the client that we're always looking out for them rather than just documenting their information? So, we don't ever want to respond to anything after it occurs. We really want to be in that proactive stage of preventing problems before they happen, the breaking of the flow of information, and then being strategic to help the clients grow and to optimize. And so what this allows us to do is, build more robust practices. We have to leverage what we already have, which is your accounting system and the tools within those systems, or your CRM, your practice management solution, they're improving every single day. And sometimes we don't have the time to sit and really see even what those improvements are. But if we take even 10, 15 minutes a week to see what the latest features are, then we're able to implement them. That's a dramatic effect that is immediate. It will save you 15, 20, 30 minutes each week forevermore. So leveraging what we already have, like within Xero, they have Jax, which is the AI. You can, talk to it now and say, create an invoice for me, create a quote for me, and ask questions about payments and things like that. Sift is the reporting platform I talked about earlier. Implementing core integrations. Expensify, Ramp, A2X, Subsync. There's, like I mentioned before, thousands in the app marketplaces. Implementing them is key. We can't move forward and we can't get rid of all of the manual tasks if we don't buy into the fact that integrations need to be a part of the ecosystem of helping a client. We want to establish the automated workflow. So month one, this is what I recommend, is really learning about what you have, leveraging it, implementing a few core integrations, establishing some quick automated workflows. The simplest is, you can use, if you're using Google, just those email tags and auto forwarding to anything. That's the simplest workflow that everybody here can do immediately. And then you want to create a standardization of process, because you want everything to be replicable. You want every team member to be thinking the same way, to be operating with the same rules and guidelines. And then you can help your clients do that as well. Ultimately, when you help your clients with the integrations and automations, you're helping yourself, because the information is getting to you quicker, the information is clearer, it's better, and you can have deeper communications. Month two, refine and the automation rules. It's a little bit addictive once you start creating some of these. Then all of a sudden you want to automate absolutely everything. Just ask anybody here at MATAX. That's all I do now, is try to automate absolutely everything. Develop and test custom reporting templates, whether you're a niche practice or you just have your own way of laying out reports. Create some of those templates in one of these integrated systems, whether it's Sift, Fathom, Spotlight. You can also do it in Google Sheets, Excel. Just create those and then try to develop the automations that will push the information from your accounting software into your templates and vice versa. You can also automate the delivery of those, and then train your whole team on the new processes. You want everybody to have buy-in, for sure. You want everybody to sort of carry these things forward with you. The third month, this is the value creation. And if if you have all the time in the world, which clearly we don't based on that last poll, but that's what we want to get to, you can implement these things quicker. This 3-month timeline I find is a little bit robust as well, but I just want to show that near immediate effect can happen. So within month 3, if you're able to document your workflow, identify where the integrations can really optimize and shorten the steps of the workflow, and put in some simple automations, you should be able to spend the time with the clients just talking to them one-on-one, rather than trying to get that information from them. And that's where you can really have the time to spend with the information on being able to analyze and to see the pattern recognition. So instead of saying, here's your P&L from last month, you can, based on your spending patterns, you're on track to, outspend your marketing halfway through the month, this is how we have to adjust your cash flow accordingly. So being more proactive, being more strategic rather than after the fact, oh yeah, you ran out of money. Nobody wants to be in that position. Implementing and automating more forward-looking alerts. So setting thresholds for bank accounts and things like that, and having alerts sent to you so that you can then reach out to the client ahead of time. And then develop some optimized proactive recommendations based on your insights. You all have your area of expertise where you're unique to everybody else. So leverage that and try to build out your recommendations for certain scenarios and have those at the ready. So when some of these automation thresholds are triggered, you're right there communicating with the client. Okay. If we're looking at firm sizes, here are a few recommendations based on the size of your firm. For solo practitioners and small firms, find the biggest time drain and focus on trying to eliminate that. For us, what we did, and it took us longer than it should have to do this, just a basic standard naming for all of your files and folders across the company. I recommend that because as you start working with automations and triggers and some of these AI tools, you'll want to have a nice set, a defined set of rules that you can point to hook all of those into. So it really facilitates automation with if-then scenarios and filtering and triggers. Focus on the client-facing integrations that have the immediate impact, because right then you'll start setting the stage and shifting your client's focus from thinking of you as an accountant to the strategic advisor. As soon as you start implementing some things that make their day easier with simple steps, then that trusted advisor conversation really starts, and you can start or you can push forward with that. For solo practitioners, small firms, understand that time is really stretched. So implementing in phases so that you can manage the learning curve across the company is key as well. Now, if you're a little bit larger firm, maybe prioritizing the workflow optimization and standardization and the client service improvements. Assign an integration champion within the firm. We have one within our firm, and he's now known as the app guy, the go-to app guy. We all have experience now because he is kind enough to train us as well. But having a champion that takes the load of saying, yes, I'm going to go and investigate that, and then comes back with the results and helps people brainstorm solutions is really important. And then creating scalable documentation. Documentation, I find, is key so that everybody is following the same path and they can learn together and go farther. Last polling question, Amy.
Where do you see your practice in 2 years with improved workflows? I like a lot of people are saying all of the above, so that's good.
Let me know when the poll is done, please.
There you go.
Okay. All of the above. Yeah, I like it. That is fantastic. Let's do this. So key takeaways. Not all manual work is created equal. Let's try to get rid of all of it. So let's identify the real time wasters, and then think flow, not just connection, because we want information not to just move from step 1 to step 2. We want step one to get all the way to the end. So let's think about that. And then tackle the biggest bottleneck first. Honestly, I found that the biggest bottleneck in our company was me. And because I had all this information and was having to give it to several different folks. So once I was able to document my processes by just talking at myself through Zoom, getting the transcript, and then having it, created into a PDF and SOP in various areas. It was a huge help for the team and a great time saver for me because I wasn't answering the same question over and over again. Track the time savings. It will spur you to continue on this path if you're able to see really how much time is being saved. And then embrace the journey, moving from the reactive to the strategic. We have to do it. This is a crucial time for the accounting profession. We're sort of at a crossroads, and we can't continue doing the things that were done in the past. And honestly, our clients don't need another bookkeeper or an accountant. They need a strategic partner who understands the business and that can help them make the smarter decisions. Okay. Quick next steps. Complete the time tracking exercise, map the top 3 workflows, implement your first integration automation, and then expand it to additional workflows. Okay. I'm here for you. So my email is right here. I encourage everybody to reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions. I thought I'd allow more time, but I want to answer everybody's questions, whatever they are. If not, like Amy said earlier, the deck will be available to everybody, and this email address is on there. Happy to talk about automations, workflows, simple steps, brainstorm solutions for you. Just reach out to me.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. Put it in the Q&A. Carrie T, complete balance bookkeeping. We'll make sure you get CPE credit. So Matt, can you make sure you add Carrie T to the CPE list for CPE credits today? I would appreciate that. And sure, okay. Well, it's a quiet group today. I don't know, maybe because it's
Sure.
Friday.
What are we gonna do? I know, right? Everybody's still awake.
All right. Well,
Well,
thank you
then
again,
thank you.
Dawn. It was so awesome to have you here and share your expertise with us. Everyone's saying thank you in the chat. So
Okay.
as you know, yeah, you'll get the slides in the recording. So we'll be
Yeah.
sending that out next week. So everyone have
Yeah.
a great weekend, and thank you so
And
much, Dawn, for
yeah,
joining
of
us.
course. Don't be shy. I don't offer up, my email and stuff lightly. I really want to help the community as, you know, e- every time one of us helps another one of us, we all get wings. It just
Exactly.
helps the community as a whole. So let's do that. Let's continue to strengthen our community.
Love it. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for attending today. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.